Hi guys, my name is Taylor Jones, and we're doing a video blog for digital art this week, and we were supposed to answer the questions. So the first question is, what do you think Holland Ben was trying to achieve with the anamorphic feature of the portrait? At first I watched the video and I didn't see the skull until they actually pointed it out, which I thought was really cool. So the anamorphic feature was actually the skull. And what I wrote down notes whenever I was watching the video, and then I Googled it and was just kind of researching everything, like what an anamorphic feature was and why artists put them in there and different things like that. So I thought that if you look past the world and you live day to day, in the end we're all gonna die eventually. So I think the artist was really getting to the whole death, that death is inevitable and we're all gonna die eventually. And you can live your life in the world and it'll be okay. You can't really focus on death, but death is gonna be there. So most people, I think most people stand in front of the picture and they don't look the sideways that they're supposed to, like, to see the actual anamorphic feature. Most people just stand in front of the picture and they don't see it at first. They're like, oh, what is that? They don't actually turn to the side and look. So I think he was saying that we live every day and we don't necessarily focus on death, even though it's always in the back of our mind that we're gonna die eventually. That's kind of what the picture was saying. It's in the back of our mind. And I also think he went a little more literal when it interests me really whenever the ages of the two men in the picture were in the portrait. One was on the dagger and then the other one was on the book. And I think he was associating that with their young, which they are, and you don't necessarily associate death with young people. I know that most people are like, oh, death only really happens to old people, but that's not necessarily the truth. Death can happen to anybody at any time. So I think he was really associating like life when he put all of the different objects in the painting, like the hymn book and I know it's not a violin, but the musical instrument in there. It was all about life and living and being youthful, and the skull represented death, and that death can happen to anybody, and death is in the back of our minds at all times. And with the crucifixion also in the picture, that adds to death because it was about death, and of course it was about reliving. So you kind of have both heaven and hell in the same picture, which I thought was pretty cool also. And if you look at the picture, I would have never thought to turn sideways and look to see there was an actual skull. So I thought that was really awesome that he decided to do that. And then the next question was, do the artists, including the 4 artists that we had to research, create experience of changing anamorphic art in some way? I researched the artist, and with Robert, Rauschenberg, that's probably not how you say it, but I am actually looking at his picture right now on my computer. His style, I feel like, was more of putting multiple pictures together into one portrait, to make one portrait combined. The pictures necessarily didn't fit together like a puzzle piece in their shape and form and size, but they fit together with the messages they were trying to portray. So one of the ones that I found really interesting was the one with John F. Kennedy in it. It has his last name, not John F. Kennedy's, but the artist's last name on the side of it, and it has John F. Kennedy's picture in it. It has, sorry, I had to move. the American flag. You can see an outline of it, and then it has his finger pointing, like he knows that he's the president, and he's trying to point, like, this is how we do business. This is, like, he is. So it kind of, unless you're looking at the picture, you really don't fully understand what it would be. I know if I first looked at this picture without knowing what an anamorphic feature was, I would probably just think, oh, there's a finger in there, and oh, there's money up here, and oh, there's a picture of a lady in here, and you would really be like, this, I don't understand. There's even a guy on the moon, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. But with me knowing what an anamorphic feature is, I think it really helped me figure out that artists have different ways, and each time they have a different way of showing, like, how these pictures would not necessarily go together, but they go together and they fit together, and you put them together and they tell a story. And I think that's what pictures are about, is telling stories. The next artist was Scott Griesbach, and one of the pictures that I found online was a picture of a guy. He kind of reminded me of Walt Disney, because he had that very early, like, 1920s, 1930s look about him, and he has the mustache, which it just reminded me of Walt Disney. But he's in a suit, and he's like a well-dressed man, and it kind of looks like he has his life together. And then he's in this house, and the house is a mess, and the house obviously doesn't have its life together. And I think it kind of relates to people, and how you see people on the street, especially living in a rural area, and if you see people walking on the street, you think, oh gosh, these people have their life together, they're so, like, well-to-do, and especially people in, like, suits, you just think more highly of them than other people. I don't know why, but you associate suits with money and wealth. But that's not necessarily always the case. But in the picture, there is a shadow that I noticed right off the bat. And the shadow is supposed to be of the man, but it really looks like a little boy. And if you weren't looking at it at the right angle, you would just say, oh, that's his shadow. But I think the artist put it in there to show that he's just a little boy inside. Like, I feel like he doesn't want to grow up. And everybody has a kid inside of them still. It's a matter if we let it show or if we don't. But I think Scott's anamorphic feature was the shadow, because it's not a normal occurrence for a person to have a childlike shadow after them. Like, that's not really a thing. It would just be their shadow. So I think that was his anamorphic image or feature. The next artist was Ken Gonzalez Day. And I noticed with him is he likes to use mannequins or, like, sculptures in his art, and he paints the sculptures. And it was very interesting to research his art. I think that the mannequins are his anamorphic feature. Like, I think that he put them in there simply because he basically wanted to show that people are not necessarily real all the time. People can be completely fake, or people can be moldable. Like, if you find a person and you want them to be different, it's not that hard to mold a person into what you want to be. I think you can also take it into consideration as it's a mannequin and every white person is the same and every Hispanic person is the same and every black person is the same and we're all the same. We have the same characteristics on the outside. But I'm not really sure which way he was going, but I think you can go both ways, honestly. I know that when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, people are fake. Why put a real person in my painting if they're all going to be fake and it doesn't matter? That's the first thing I thought of. And then when I really thought about it some more, I thought about the people are all the same on the outside, so that's why I use mannequins in my pictures. But I mean, it could be both. The next artist was Jenny Holzer. And with her pictures, or her paintings, I found that she uses a lot of words in her paintings, which I think would be her anamorphic feature. Because there's one picture and it's a face, and the face is creating words. And it is the first thing that popped out of me is an independent study program at Whitney Museum of American Art, sorry. I'm actually looking at and then if you keep going down, it actually has her name in it, which I thought was really interesting. But I think that's her anamorphic feature, because most people don't put words in their paintings. That's not, or their paintings are not completely words, which is what hers are. Hers are completely words. And they make up, this specific picture makes up, it's a portrait of her, and I'm assuming that all these words mean, that all these words are what makes her her. Which is really cool. If this was her first image, I think that is absolutely amazing. And I think it's really cool that she put that much time and effort into making those words and making sure that all of the words match her and they're all of her. I'm not really sure what they all say because you can't really read every single one of them, but it probably says her birthday and different things like that. But I thought it was really cool that she put her, basically it's putting yourself in the art, but she took it another step and actually put herself in the art with the words that she used. I think the next question would be, can you imagine some common thread between an artist in the 1500s and contemporary artists? I think yes. I think just like everything else, it goes down the line. You start off and it's new, and then you trends come back. So this trend of anamorphic feature came back, and I think it will always be in art, and it will always be a thing. I honestly think it'll be a thing. I think it is interesting to see how it was in the 1500s and then compared to now to what we have with different shading techniques and how you can go on the computer and absolutely change a picture. So if you have no makeup on, it looks like you have makeup on. Play with the contrast. It's crazy to think how these artists probably play with their pictures and play with the art to make it. And I mean, you can even add if there's not a anamorphic feature in a picture, I'm sure these artists can take the picture and then add it in later when you crop it or edit it or anything like that. it's not necessarily like it was in the old days where you had to actually paint everything. Then you can take a picture now and then edit somebody out of it, crop out anything you want. And now I think you can, these artists will be able to add in their anamorphic feature if they wanted to. It's crazy the amount of things that you can do for this anamorphic feature or in typical art today. I think it's very interesting. And I enjoyed this exercise. I've actually never done a video blog, but I think that this was fun, and I would like to do this again if I can give my opinion on that. But I did learn a lot from this project, and I think this was a good thing. So I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy my post. Bye.